All right. Now, as before, we want to start planning the next assignment while we're working on this assignment because we don't have enough to do. Our next assignment, we're going to be doing poses, okay? Last semester, we actually did some rigging stuff and then like more rigging stuff, then got into the poses. This semester, I'm pushing those to the front, okay? Because these are, in my opinion, they're the more exciting things, the more exciting projects to get into. So you're going to go to Google and you're going to type in Creative Crash Character Rig Maya. It'll take you to the top one, regardless if you put the Rig Maya in there. And you'll go to this website called High End 3D. You'll create a login for them. It's free. And then you'll go through and you'll find a biped character that you could animate. Okay? So is an elephant a biped? No, because it has 4 legs. It doesn't have 2 legs, right? What was that? Yeah, no. No, biped. That's not a foot. I would not consider this a biped either, even though it is, okay? We want something humanoid bipedal, okay? So avoid any of the animals that are there. Like that would be something you could use, okay? This guy is one that you could use. Maybe not him. I don't want to work with that. Oh, I'm not even going to click on that one. I'll go to the next one here. Okay? So keep in mind that some of these rigs are going to be very heavy. Like there might be a lot of polygons, a lot of detail in them. The more detail, the slower it's going to go. Okay? So we want to make sure that we have a good enough rig that we can utilize it. Also consider things like proportions. Eventually we're going to be doing things like a walk cycle, like a character picking something up and moving stuff. This character's walk cycle is going to look a lot different than a character that has long, lanky legs, right? I also have to keep in mind that his poses and stuff aren't going to be as defined because he is a shorter character, okay? Mike Freeman, that's a weird name for your rig, but okay. All of these, or most of these rigs are free. You can go to the sort by, no. Display. There it is, price, lowest first. There you go. So these are the cheapest ones first. So these are the free ones, okay? This guy has been used all over the place. People have been using him for years. This guy too, Generi Rig. Alfred has been used all over the place. This guy's been used. This one I think is in Spanish. I think all the controls are in Spanish. This is maybe a little bit too stretched out, right? So that's kind of like weird. Okay. There's a cricket there. We need arms, so we can't just use like this Monty rig. All right. The number one rig that I prefer using is Andy. So this rig here has been used for years and years and years. You can see this goes back to 2008 and Maya 8 and Maya 7, which is back before you were in college and probably even high school and junior high for some of you. This is an awesome rig. It was created over as a senior project for someone at SCAD, I believe, is where it was from. And it's just amazing. You can actually take your character, and by adjusting the controls, you can make your character look like any of those. So if you decided, like, I'm going to do a scene and I want to have multiple people in it, not for this class, but for other things, you can have that one character look like all of those different characters there, okay? Just by adjusting some sliders. So you'll go through the site, you'll find one that you like, you'll register, you'll hit the download button, you'll type in your stuff, or you'll try to remember your stuff. I think that's it. Haha. We will save that so we don't have to forget that one. And then we will open it up. Downloads. Where is... I didn't download. Let's try that again. There it goes. And I'm just going to put that right there. All right, so there's my Andy rig. So you would right-click, you would extract it. If you get one that is a RAR file, a RAR is a different kind of zipped file, If you right click, it doesn't say extract or there's no way to extract it. You can go onto Google, type in RAR Labs, that will download and install a software that lets you extract it, blah, blah, blah. You can figure that out. Inside the Andy Rig folder, there's scenes, there's source images, and these. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to rename it first. There we go. And I'm just going to put that into my 2540 folder right there. Then I'm going to go set my project, find my Andy Rig, say select, and then I will open up the Andy Rig file. Don't save. All right, there we go. So there's Andy. You'll see all the different controls that are on here. So our ball had 0 controls. We did all the stuff manually. The stick has those curves on there. And then Andy is like littered with controls all over, okay? And each one of these will do something. We will go over what each one of these things will do. But basic controls is what we're looking for. So just as a, let's figure this out together. Where do you think the hand controls would be? By the hand, right? And then at the wrist, right, exactly. So if I take this and I go to the move tool and I move it, I can move the hand around, okay? Now, if I go to rotate, it does that. If I go to scale, see how they're like grayed? Locked. Just like the stick, I can't do anything with those. So that's what that will do. Now, let's look at what the arrows will do. The arrows will allow me to change between what's called IK and FK. We'll get more into what these things do. But right now this is set up as an IK. I grab the wrist and I move the wrist, and that moves all the joints in the arm. If I grab this and I turn this IK FK to 0, the box is gone, and now I have, let me switch my view. Now I have these curves, and that's what I would use to control where Andy's arm is at. So think of something like, if you were to remember the old characters they would use for movies when they would do claymation, they would take these wire armatures inside and they would be able to like rotate the arm down, rotate this down. That's how they would do that type of thing. A lot of people still like this way as how they animate their stuff. For some things I use this, for some things I'll use the other one, okay? If I wanted Andy to swing her arm, let me just kind of get this into a somewhat relaxed position. Like that. Ignore the hand for now. I could just rotate, and I'm able to rotate Andy's arm like that. Okay. If I wanted to move it though, let me switch back. Let me grab that again, put this back to 1. If I wanted to move it so that she goes and grabs something, this is a lot easier for me to go out there and say, grab this, and then move it over here. Okay? That's a lot easier than trying to rotate her arm into that position and then do that kind of thing. And the same thing for the legs. Think of the character just kind of like sitting on a pier and kind of wagging their legs. It's a lot easier as an FK to wag the legs than to try to keep this. There's another one down here, right, for the foot. To keep this and making that look like she's wagging. Okay? If I go to just like the other one, here's the arrows. Set that to 0. And then we'll just grab Andy and make her take a seat. And there's that. There's that. Okay, so now we could have Andy's leg just kind of like wagging if she's sitting down. Okay. There's benefits to both. There's different areas. I would use one over the other. Some people will actually switch as they're animating between the two. We're not going to get that involved with what we're doing. Okay. So we know how to control the arm to get it to move. What about the fingers? Circle. Yep. So on here, there's no move, rotate, or scale. But over here, these are created attributes. These are things that the rigger has created so that they have control over each one of those items. So if I click and drag on all 3 of these indexes, I'll zoom in on Andy's index, and then I middle mouse button drag over here, you'll see how Andy is able to really break her finger. Yeah. And then if I grab these and grab these and grab these, you can see how we really have control all the way for each one of the knuckles of the finger. And then here's the thumb. Now look at how many controls are for the thumb. There's this one, there's that one, there's that one, and then we have things like thumb reach, and then we have thumb spread. And like we're setting limits on some of our stuff, Andy has no limits. You can just go like with that thumb spread, you can just go like pretty far past wherever you would need. As I scroll down, you'll see there's a spread, so I can spread the fingers out or pinch them in. We can squeeze the hand. We can do a cupping of the hand. We can spread out just the index, just the middle. We can twist individual fingers. Okay, so a lot of control. Now, on the other side of the hand, you're going to find the same thing. Here's the box for controlling the hand. There's the arrow to switch between IK and FK. And here's the circle to control all of this stuff. Okay, most of the stuff that we're going to do is be very simple as far as finger control. So Andy will have her hand open, her hand closed, whatever it is, and grabbing stuff. We're not going to get into, let's say, sign language or something where we need to go through a whole bunch of different gestures of the fingers. All right, so we know how to move that. So let's say, for instance, we have Andy here. The ideal situation is that any rig that we have should be able to do the same thing that we can do. So Andy's hand is here. How did Andy put her elbow down? See how that's connected to the elbow? So that's aiming the elbow as to where that's pointing. Okay, now if I look at the legs, you'll see the same thing. These are for the knees, so if I were to grab these guys here, scoochie them up, grab this, we can move the knees back and forth.
Is there an easy way, like once you get all these weird wacky poses to just set everything back to static 0 again?
Yes.
Or do you have to go back through each one?
I just undo while I'm doing this, but typically what I'll do is I'll grab everything and I'll set a keyframe at like -100. That way I can jump back to that if I need it. Okay. All right, so there's that. Let's see. Is that possible there? Or does that look natural? Let's say that. Does that look natural? No, why not? The shoulder's not rotating, right? So we have a couple things. Your arm can only rotate that far up. That's as far as my shoulder lets me go. The rest of this is clavicle right there. That's where that's rotating. So same thing with Andy. Here's a clavicle control. And you can rotate that up. Okay. Here's a neck control. And you'll see they're locked. Like there's only rotates. So I know that's all I can do, rotate. Right, and then here's another circle. Here's some translates and rotates. I think this moves Andy's head. Right? So if Andy was doing something character-y, cartoony, you might have that. Cool. Same thing here. Look at more controls, rotate. There's translates. Here's more, just rotates.
Now this is for Andy, so if there are any other rigs that we pick up in that site, should they have similar, like they should all have about this level of control?
Hopefully. Now anyone can upload to the site,
Right.
So they could be anything. Some controls will be in different spots. Some controls will have different items. Andy is the best as far as all-around stuff. I've never had an issue with Andy. But some of them do. They just have like some weird stuff. Oops. Like this one here, you can see his controls, right? A box, circles. He has circles on his arms, boxes around his feet. So you would want to go through any rig you have and pick it around. Can I move the arms correctly? Can I move the legs correctly? Can I put him in positions that would be appropriate to how a person would look, right? and this is one of the controls I really like that Andy has. So this one here, this box, I can grab this as the hips and move Andy all around. But then I also have this one, if Andy was in hula dancing, where I could just do like that. Okay, so you have finite controls on those. If I go down to the feet, I click this. Here's translates, rotates. Here's some pivots. Just do one at a time. There, there, there. And then here's foot roll. Ball. And then there's other stuff in here that we don't really use, like the gimbal helper or the parenting we're not really using for this. And then they should also have this. Most of them will have some kind of circle or icon right at their feet or somewhere that allows you to move the entire character. So if my scene is way over here, I can just grab my character and put them way over there. Okay? Or rotate them, or in Andy's case, I could scale Andy down to whatever size. So like if I built an environment, I want Andy in it, I may not have built them to the same scale. So I can just take Andy, scale Andy down instead of scaling the environment up. Or I might have 4 different characters, I want them all to be in the same environment, right? Here's where we can customize Andy. So here's where the hair is. So I'll zoom in. And I'm going to switch this to boy hair. And switch that to girl hair. And switch that to man hair. And switch that to woman hair. And then switch that to no hair. Yeah. And then here is chest, boy or girl. So not a huge change. And then here's the clothing. Now, how do you think the clothing is getting changed? Textures, right? So those are just pictures. Let's go back into AndyRig, source images, and here's all the stuff. So if I go to, which one am I on? The green stripes. It's a vest. That one. So what if you didn't like the green and you wanted to change the green? What would you do? Photoshop, right? Just go into Photoshop. For some reason, people forget about Photoshop when they get to this part. So anything, like if you want to put your logo on Andy's shirt, you can go in Photoshop and put Andy's logo on your shirt. You don't like the shoes, whatever. I've had people paint like an entire tuxedo on Andy because they wanted that character for the scene. Okay. These other things that are in here are things like the alpha channel for the vest, so there's some transparency, and then there's some other maps inside here too. You only have to really worry about the color one for what we're doing. I'm going to put that hair back on. There we go. One more thing I didn't turn on. There we go. So we also have face sliders. So I'm going to turn these on. And now this is where we get a lot of fun. So if I go here. Now notice how it's not just the eyes moving, it's actually like the lids moving as well, right? So that's all rigged into it. All of these are different controls too, and you'll see they're all locked. I can't move it like forward or rotate it or scale it. I can just move it in that 2 plane. And then same thing here. And same thing there. Typically these are meant to be like adjustments for some of these, right? I'm so worried. There we go. It's a subtle one. And then I'm going to go into wireframe for this one so we can see the tongue. It's like sliding around. You're a creep now, Andy. Stop it. And then which side of the mouth. Okay, now we can go even further. If I grab that again, go down to on-face controls. Now we have controls right on Andy's face that we could then click and move around and tweak even finer. So the people at Pixar, when they do their stuff, they go frame by frame. Every controller, they're looking at it to see, you know, is this right or this right? This right or that right? And they'll go through and pick out each one. Uh-oh. He's angry. And then when we're done, we can just undo everything or go back to it.
Now, do you need to go in and update your undo levels for something like this?
For something like that, typically, yeah. Or you can just, because we're just playing now, I can just reopen the file, right, and get it back to where it was. Okay, so that's a good one. Let me go see, I'll download another one. I'll download this one. Let do. So that one we will cut. Oops. I'll paste it. See, this one is a RAR. I already have this on mine, but I would extract this RAR file. So there he is. There he is. So I'm going to go to here, go to open. He doesn't have a project set, so I would need to make a project folder and then put him in it. And he's gone. Where is he? Where are you? I don't know, maybe. I'll just turn everything on, I guess. Horrible rig already. We did get an error down here. Unsport a simulation method, unrecognized node type, turtle, rim shader. He may have it off. Show all. Display, show all. Nope, epic fail. So this one might be only available for a different version of Maya. It says 2007, but Andy is that old too, and Andy works, so he just sucks. Let's grab the Jester. Download. His name is Ward, apparently. And install. So sometimes they'll have like little Mel scripts they want you to install too. You don't have to do those. It just gives you more control over some of their stuff. So he also doesn't have a project set, so I'm just going to go and open his stuff. And there he is. Okay. So you'll see similar controls. Here's a box for the hand. Here's an arrow. This arrow in this one does the thumbs and stuff. So that and that. And let's see, that controls just the rotation. Yes. And then this is hand align. I'm not sure what that does. And it doesn't look like there is an elbow control behind him. So I would have to go to this elbow twist and use that. Okay, which is okay. I like to have the controller where I move it and it just stays there. Also, I can't rotate the wrist with this. I would assume that I would have to go to this and then rotate the wrist, which is another step that I just don't like. He also doesn't have facial controls, it looks like, so I couldn't really, I can move his nose and scale it up apparently. But if I wanted him to have some emotion, it's gone. There's nothing there.
You can move that little bells on the hat.
It looks like I can just move that, or I could do these. I'm sure I can rotate, yeah, or move. Yeah, I could have something like that, right? Yeah. Grab these just like we did the stick. Right, so I could do something like that. There are controls here for the clavicle, so he does have those. Rotate the head. Translate the head. Rotate that. Rotate this. Right, so he definitely does have some controls, but he just doesn't have the same amount that the other one had. You could definitely do some cool stuff with them, but this one, not my favorite.